Yeah, I mean, running a small business is incredibly challenging. The statistics for small business closures, 45% close in the first 5 years on average, and for restaurants, it's 80%. So 4 out of 5 restaurants are going to fail in the first 5 years nationally. And so we're pretty used to having a lot of churn downtown. It doesn't make it any easier because every time we lose one of these businesses, it's not just somebody's stock price plummeting. Every one of these is locally owned and family operated. So you're talking about losing somebody's dreams. And that's really, really painful. I wish that every business that we open downtown succeeded. And we work really hard to provide the support that every entrepreneur needs to do the best they can. But it's a complex environment and always has been. I don't know if right now is, having been through COVID with all of these entrepreneurs, this is not an exceptional situation. We are always dealing with a dynamic economy that's constantly changing and lots of different variables and challenges. So that's just the story of being a small business owner. If you talk to any entrepreneur, they are used to juggling a ton of different challenges. So overall downtown though, our closure rate last year was 4%. We have over 400 businesses and fewer than 4% of them close in a year. So the churn that we're experiencing in Macon, especially downtown, is a lot lower than what you see in national statistics for small businesses. So I think you have a really resilient core of entrepreneurs who are incredibly innovative. It doesn't make it any easier when we lose one of these businesses, especially one that's really high profile and really special to people, although Taste and See plans to reopen. So I don't think that's going to be a permanent loss. This is what we do. This is our bread and butter at Newtown Macon. We are a nonprofit. Our mission is to revitalize downtown Macon. Our doors are open and we are normally seeking out entrepreneurs to be able to provide support. There are certainly challenges we can't solve, and one of the things we help do with an entrepreneur when we're facing one of those situations is to help them wrap things up in the most beneficial way possible. But a lot of times, if the real key is for people to come in early. So as soon as you're starting to see challenges in your business that you're not used to overcoming, it's really helpful to see us immediately and not let those kinds of issues fester before we can dive in and come up with a solution. Each business is totally unique, and so when we dive in to look at the challenges that each business is facing, one of the places we're going to start is looking at the actual financials for that particular business. One of the big advantages that Newtown has now is we've worked with almost every one of our 400 entrepreneurs, and so we're not going to share anybody's individual financial information, but we have information that an individual entrepreneur couldn't get on their own. And so as we're able to look across competitors and see how other people have overcome those, we can help the industry adapt best practices across different businesses. And so I think that's one of the best tools that we operate. There is not a single trick that will fix a challenge that a business is facing. But what we're going to do is provide the space and the comfort and also having an independent third party to sit down with you. Because a lot of these entrepreneurs, like I said, are family operated enterprises. So everybody who's making the management decisions is in a family. That's a really complicated dynamic to try and make decisions that are very emotional. And so we're able to provide this space for people to come in and get an independent third-party opinion from experts who understand the industry as a whole and understand downtown Macon specifically to try and help come up with solutions to those challenges. And we've had an incredible track record of doing that. When Newtown started, only 30% of the storefronts downtown were full, and today we're at 81%. And just the past year, we opened 10 net new businesses, which means when you take all the ones that closed and all the ones that opened, we had 10 more open than closed. So we've had a really, really good track record of continuing to march forward, and I have every reason to believe that's going to be the same for next year, that we're going to end next year with an increase in net new businesses, an increase in net new jobs, and an increase in storefront occupancy. So it's really sad to see these businesses turn over, but they're going to provide opportunities for new entrepreneurs to come in and try out their ideas. And the market is really dynamic. Those are constantly changing. Like I said earlier, it's really tough to see one of these businesses go because, you think about these things in terms of the economy or whatever, but they're individual relationships with us, most of the time with the building owner who's operating the business, and you hate to see these setbacks happen. One of the things that we really work on a lot is to try and make sure that our entrepreneurs also own the real estate where they're working, because what that gives you is a second chance out. And so if the business concept that you tried in the storefront doesn't work, which is the case in both the businesses that you mentioned, the building owner has a chance to rent it to somebody else and still continue making a living while somebody else gets to try out their idea. And so I think that's one of the key success markers that's going to differentiate downtown Macon moving forward, is that people still have the opportunity to buy the real estate. So it's not some huge investment fund out of New York that's going to get the rent. It's the people who are operating the business, and that gives them a chance to re-rent it and try somebody else out, and keeps our storefronts full. As for people visiting, the thing that has made us most special is the fact that these are local businesses, and that the only place you can sample them on earth is in downtown Macon. And I expect that even as we see some of these businesses close, the ones that take their place are going to be local too. And so I'm really sad to not have one of those award-winning burgers from Macon Beer Company again, but I think it opens up the opportunity for somebody else to invent something that we've never had before in downtown Macon. There are other times, I'm thinking, there are other times when we've had entrepreneurs come in with the right plan, with enough financing, with market research that backs up their decisions, and it still doesn't work. There is a little piece of this that is magic. And I've seen it break both ways, where you have a decent plan that catches traction and becomes an institution and just does 50 years worth of consistent business. And I've seen the opposite happen too, where people are really incredibly capable entrepreneurs. I believe in them 100%, and the market's just not there. And so there are some strategies that we can use to help, but there's a piece of this that is a little bit more magical and harder to understand, that and that's why you see churn in small businesses. They open and close all the time. It's really hard to make an institution that lasts decades out of a small business. And we're lucky to have a whole bunch of them that have been functioning for 50 years and more in downtown. So we were just on this list of 23 places to visit in the world in 2023, and that was that was on the morning show. And that's like a little bit surprising, because I've been here long enough when we were on the list of like the worst places to visit. But what the travel writers have said is they have fallen in love every time they've come here, because Macon's real. Mm-hmm. Because it's not a Ruth's Chris, it's Downtown Grill. Because it's not a chain seafood place, it's kudzu. And we do it better. We do it better than the national chains. And that's something that people absolutely fall in love with. You don't want to see anybody miss out on their dream. But it's fun to see new people get a chance to realize theirs too. There are not a whole lot of people who are getting rich off these things that they're doing, but they're providing for their families, they're contributing to the community, they're volunteering on our boards and institutions. That's not happening with a franchise business or a chain. Every dollar that people spend in one of these businesses in a downtown storefront makes a big difference. And usually, like I said, they're also paying off the mortgage on the building, which is a really big deal in terms of people building intergenerational wealth, especially for women and people of color who haven't had the chance to do that before. What's happening in downtown Macon is nothing short of miraculous, and I think it is a beacon of hope for all of Macon. We took what was the absolute worst part of town, and now I think we've made the best. And I think what that does is lay out a plan for every neighborhood in Macon to be able to achieve its ultimate potential. And I'm looking forward to continuing working on it. And the way that people can help, absolutely. If you're going to go out to eat, if you're going to shop, please do it at a local business. That's an easy decision that everyone can make. Of course, Newtown always needs donations and volunteers for people who are willing and able to make that kind of level of support. And if you have a dream about fixing a building or starting a business, we would love for you to go to newtownmacon.com or come visit us on Poplar Street and let us help work with you to make that dream come true.